Hi guys, how are you all doing? Yes, I know it's been a while, that's my fault. But today we're going to be talking about Zha, and we're going to mix it up a little. Usually when I talk about a god like this and talk about their mythology, I first talk about, sort of their purpose in the mythology, what exactly they be doing, and then I go ahead, I might talk about their relationships with different gods and all of that stuff. But with Zha, thanks to the fact that really he's only got like one story with some variations and then he shows up in a few other stories. And the purpose behind the story is to show off this one sort of massively important moral thing with China. I figure we're just going to jump straight into his story. So, Zha was born in a military fortress at Chentang Pass, and his father, Li Jing, was a commander. His mother, Lady Yin, birthed a ball of flesh after being pregnant for 3 years and 6 months. Do not envy women in mythology, geez Louise. But, it's not every day that you see a lady birth not a baby but a ball of flesh, and when her husband saw this, he wasn't exactly pleased. In fact, he thought the ball was a demon and decided to draw his sword, and I'm sure you can guess what he did next. But upon striking the ball, it actually split open and out popped Zha. Now, he was grown a bit more than your normal baby, because he was more like a small child than a baby, and he was actually birthed with a golden ring around maybe his stomach or maybe an arm. Specifically, it's supposed to be around the left arm. And he was also born with a red cosmic sash, or the Amilary sash, gifts that he'll put to use in just a sec. In most variations of this story, Zha has a bit of a falling out with his parents, mostly for the fact that they're surprised that he's sort of born as either this child or a teenage boy instead of a baby. And more or less he's weird, right? So he's usually accepted by Tai Zenren, a pretty spiritual dude, essentially, and goes off to be fathered and learns some cool stuff from him. One day, Zha is playing in some sort of body of water, just minding his own business. Here's where a lot of the differences in his story comes in, like some of the significant ones. Either the story goes that Zha is just minding his own business playing in this puddle of water with his Amilary sash, and him just making these ripples in the water is actually making shockwaves and a lot of destruction for Ao Kuang, the Dragon King of the Eastern Sea. Ao Kuang isn't very happy about this, so first he sends someone to go and find out what's going on, and they're either injured or killed by Zha by accident. Then he sends his third son, Ao Bing, and the son wants to know what's going on. He wants Zha to stop it, and Zha doesn't, and accidentally murders Ao Bing. Murder might be a bit of a stretch, but either way, Ao Bing is, comatose. Because Zha really didn't know his own strength. We're talking about literally like a child or a young man or a teenager with like Herculean or godly strength, right? So he either gets into like an arm wrestle or some sort of wrestling sort of competition with the son naturally is strangled to death or something. Or Ao Bing is lonely, sort of chilling in some area of sea, some body of water. And Zha noticed him and is like, hey, do you want to play with me? And then the two sort of play and then they wrestle and it pretty much goes the same way. Or lastly, Ao Bing full on makes his intent clear that he's trying to kill Zha, and Zha simply just acts in self-defense. Regardless of how Ao Bing dies, the important thing is that he's dead, and Ao Kuang, being a dragon, is not happy about his dragon son being dead. So, he then, in response, does one of two things. Either A, he kidnaps Zha's parents and, threatens to kill them, or B, threatens to flood the entirety of Chentang Pass. By one method or another, to appease the Dragon King, Zha will either commit suicide, thus appeasing the Dragon King, or will present himself to the Dragon King in order for the Dragon King to off him himself. Either way, again, Zha is comatose, and Ao Kuang celebrates. Now, all throughout this time, the people are essentially begging Ao Kuang for rain. The problem for Ao Kuang is that he doesn't feel like he's getting enough tributes, even though the people are sending like lots of tributes and what they can considering the circumstances as regularly as they can. Ao Kuang just isn't happy, right? Sometimes Zha will do something about this. Other times Zha will end up interacting with Ao Kuang the way he does. But in the times that Zha decides to step up and be a hero, he still ends up, of course, unfortunately, dying, but he might actually be able to win some rainfall for the people. Either way, the Dragon King decides to celebrate. In some versions of the story, not provide rainfall for the people. So his master, Taiyi Zenran, decides to give him a bit of resurrection, revive him in a bit of lotus petals. And he's also gifted some fire wheels with which he can fly, and a pretty sharp spear. With those weapons, he sort of beats the crap out of Ao Kuang, and then they get rainfall in one version of the story. In another version of the story, he really doesn't care too much about Ao Kuang because of the more significant to him conflict he's having with his father. See, after dying, however he dies, Nijar actually appears to his mother in a dream and instructs his mother to build him a temple. Like pretty much any mother would, she's very excited to know that her son would actually be fully dead and decides to build this temple for her son, patiently waiting for her son to be resurrected in some way. His father isn't happy about the idea of Nijar having a temple at all, and whilst this temple is built without the knowledge of the father, he eventually does find out and gets it taken down, which Nijar is not happy about. So a bit after that, he's then resurrected the same way he was before, with the whole lotus petals going on, and he gets the same gifts as well. And then he decides to take out his vengeance on his father. As we've discussed earlier, Nijar is not a normal kid, teenager, or whatever. He's super, super powerful. The two clash a few times, but it becomes evident that Li Jing has no chance against Nijar. So, as he's fleeing, he requests the aid of one of his other sons, of which he has 3, and Nijar ends up killing Muzar. His other son is a very studious religious individual, and he decides to appeal to 2 Buddhas. Essentially, both of these Buddhas prevent Nijar from actually killing his father, and then explain to us the whole moral of the story, which is essentially that no matter what a father does, no matter how badly they supposedly mess up, the ultimate sin that you can commit is actually killing your father. And so you don't do that, which actually seems to be a very big thing in Chinese culture. So yeah, respect the father. That's the main story. He also has appearances in other stories, like Sun Wukong's story. So in Journey to the West, he actually appears as a 3-headed and 6-armed deity, like something out of Azura's Wrath or something, and actually does end up doing battle against Sun Wukong. But, Sun Wukong's kind of OP, so, he could have literally had, all the mystic super OP forces on his side, and Sun Wukong would have still won because Sun Wukong's just broken. But yeah, that's more or less everything I have for you on Nijar. What did you think of me just going straight up with the story and having a couple of explanations throughout? And what do you think of Nijar? Do you have a different outlook on the character now? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this. But till the next video, have yourselves a fine day. I've been Prime. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.